a lot of this memory I suppressed for a long time. And so I ran. And as he ran behind me, it's not that he was trying to catch me to put me out. He was squirting more lighter fluid.
Hey, Better Babes. Today we are joined by empowerment and beauty advocate Tonya Renee Meisenbach, also known as Burned Beauty 2018. Tonya's journey is about more than makeup. She is a true example of what it looks like to repurpose your pain, and she's here to share her story with us today. Hi, Tonya.
Hi, Amber.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I'm so excited for you to be here. When I found you, your page, I sent it to Melissa, my producer, and I said, oh, I'd love to have her on. Please find her, get her here to me, because everything that all the content that you've been creating and the life that you've been living, like, you are the reason why I made this show. The reason, everything that you're doing, you embody everything that If You Knew Better was about. And I was like, oh, I have to have her on. I'm obsessed with the human experience, but I think lived experience is so important to share, and to share with other people, to teach them, to help people be better, to help people avoid things they don't need to experience in life. And I wish, so much that if people would share more, that, to me, it can change the world.
I'm so glad for that. When I saw your podcast, I thought, yes, I don't say yes to all of them. There's a lot out there, but when something is truly your purpose, and that's what I look to do, to use the pain to be a purpose, and it helps me. I started doing it. I tell my story and I heal a little bit every time I do. And then I heal further because, I get messages from people that say, thank you. I didn't understand that. Thank you. I left a bad situation. So, we talked a little, truth is your superpower. Just standing in your truth. Unapologetically. We can't live in shame, especially other people's shame. That's not for us. So the more we can speak out, the more we can change the world. So I'm really, really happy to be here and be a part of this.
Thank you. Well, you're here because you were going to tell us today how to identify narcissistic abuse.
Yes.
And that the identify is so important, because that is the issue. People don't know that they have been through it or experienced it until after.
Right. We don't know. I didn't know I was being abused. This is someone that I met in 2004. And what's important about the timing is I was just getting divorced. I got married very young, had 2 small kids. So I'm 31 years old. I'm getting divorced. I'm in a custody battle, right? Just because that relationship had the same type of abuse that I didn't recognize. So when I meet the narcissist and he's doing what they call love bombing, he's asking all these questions and he appears to be empathizing, but he's really, putting together a dossier. That's what they're doing.
Collecting data.
They are collecting data. And, I wasn't looking for a relationship, but there I am, and this is the greatest guy ever. I said to so many people, well, what do you do, when I can't just let the man of my dreams go, even though I'm not looking for that right now, if the timing is right. And I never, ever thought back on that until after, until it all fell apart. So even when we met, the love bombing was quick. It was like, I want to move in with you.
Okay.
But he didn't quite approach it that way. It was, I'm looking for a place to live. And I moved out of my house and moved into an apartment in Alpharetta that I could afford. He says, I'm looking for a place. And I was like, there's a lot of apartments around here. Literally what I said. And he's like, oh, no, I was thinking of maybe staying here. And I thought, I hesitated, I'm sharing custody, but then again, I give in. Don't do that. Right from the beginning, red flags are waving. But I don't know it's a red flag. I think this man is, infatuated with me. I'm living, a fairy tale now. So I let him move in, and, I think he gave me $200 the whole first year. $200.
Pays for nothing.
Paid for nothing.
Okay.
And he was there. He's self-employed, but he's making websites, and at the time the economy had crashed there. The housing market had crashed. Anyway, it wasn't good for people in IT. So again, I'm like, okay, I've got you. You buy a few groceries, you help out. I'm literally supporting this man. Now we call it, a hobosexual.
Yes, we have terms for
We have a term. He's a hobosexual, right? He found his mark. He found someone, even though I was going through things, I had a good job. I'd been a paralegal for many years at that point. I was stable. I had things that he didn't. But yet, I thought that was okay because he would come around. So already I've met someone, but really level. Yeah, he's not in the same playing field. He's not, he's not someone that's going to give me anything back. And I don't mean superficial, but he's just not returning anything to me the whole time. The $200 that I got, and really he was a problem. Fast forward, we get married 4.5 years later. The relationship is not good, but I'm still thinking it's going to get back to that person that I met in the beginning. That was the man of my dreams that I didn't want to let go of. I keep trying to get that person back, but that person doesn't exist. They never do. This is narcissist 101. That person doesn't exist. And you start to blame yourself. Like, okay, well, what changed? And you start working on yourself. I did that the whole time. I would go to the doctor like, there's something wrong with me. He would tell me I get too angry when you do things. You get too angry. What's wrong with you? You're crazy. And I believed it. I'm like, well, maybe I should, be calmer, be more. And then, that's a redirection. Now you're the problem.
You said something. I heard you say that people don't get to hurt you and then tell you how to hurt.
Right? And that's what he would do. It's like, you shouldn't be so upset. Other people don't have a problem. And, I'm thinking, what do other people have to do with this? I don't care if your friend, they're not living it, but still, I'd let it affect me. Now I'm trying to figure out how to fix me. I'm so happy we're going to get married. That's going to make it better. Oh, no, it did not make it better. He was a problem at the wedding. When we flew to Jamaica, and the night we got there, I was excited. I'd never been out of the country. And I'm walking with the tour guide showing us around, and he snaps at me, right? Like, slow down. What is wrong with you? You're so excited. Because I was excited. I'm walking with a group of people. And what's funny about that is he would always walk about 10 paces ahead of me. It would drive me nuts. And I was always on heels. And it's like, okay, I'm trying to keep up. I'm literally running. He's 6'4", and he's walking as fast as he can. He would never wait for me. Never. And that is a common trait too. Red flag. They're walking ahead of you on purpose. They feel like you don't deserve to be with them. So him snapping at me, it hurt my feelings. It's like, we're about to get married in 2 days. What's going on? And then the wedding day, I'm out getting my hair and everything done. And the wedding planner has to wake him up like 20 minutes before the wedding. He's sleeping, not dressed, does not care. But we get married. And, and things don't get better. The years go on, and, I support him through business. I support him to start his own business so that we can be successful. But really, it just ends up with him having more money and running around Atlanta all the time. he's supposed to be out on sales calls, but he's really, at the club somewhere. I don't know that in the beginning, but I found out. Just looking at bank records, I'm like, what is this? You're over it. You're at Flashers. You know what that's correct.
I do.
That's correct. Right? I mean, you're not even at Magic City. You're at Flashers, right? Like, what? The subtle shade. Go to Magic City? Like, what is he doing? Right? And I had never even been there. I caught him there one time, literally, worked my way in. They let me in the club as a single woman because I was like, oh, I'm going to meet somebody. They let me in, and I went in and slept, punched my hand. Like, what kind of crazy life is that, though? Now you're out of control. Keep that in mind. Now you're, trying to hunt somebody down on, Roswell Road, walking in and popping them in the head. What is happening? That's not who I was, but that's who I was at that point.
I like when you say that, because when I ask you, like, oh, how do you identify this in a person? I hear the red flags that you're saying that they show you.
Right.
I don't think anybody ever looks at the red flags that you begin to show yourself.
Right.
And so you're watching this person and taking heed of all the things that they're doing. You don't see you being out of control. Like you said, this isn't too important. Now you're acting different.
That's a key element of it. We're all inclined to say what other people are doing, what they're doing to us. But if you stay with the narcissist, you are becoming toxic too. And you need to own that. Even when you get out of the situation, you better own that in order to heal. Like, you don't have ill intent, but I'm tracking someone down and walking into a place and, they're in hands, right? What
am I doing?
What am I doing?
Who am I right now? But you don't ever ask yourself those questions until after. In retrospect, it's easy, but I hope that when we speak out about it, it helps people identify it. We talked about that. That's the important part of what we're doing, to let people not feel alone, because I didn't know any of the things were abuse. He would turn off his phone, disappear. If he gets mad at me for being mad at him about something he did, then, if I speak up about it, he would turn off his phone, disappear. That happened once a week at least, because he wanted to go out. He's got, like, I don't know what he had going on, like a whole, probably a whole other life, right? And, all these things are triggers. It's not someone lying to you. That's not what we're talking about when we talk about gaslighting and narcissistic abuse. We're talking about is coercive control. It is evil, and you are being abused. You're being broken. Like we said, look who am I right now? What is happening? You're being broken. I was so broken all those years. Looking back, I don't know who I was, and not knowing that I was being abused, because I was raised that, if they're laying hands on you, you're being abused. If you come in and they're, calling you names all the time or whatever, then you're being abused. But what about if they're turning off their phone and disappearing because they're mad at you? To make you feel cozy.
To make you hunt them down, to control you.
Yeah, I think that emotional abuse, if I can wrap it all up under there, like you said, physical, verbal abuse is a lot more clear.
Right.
Like, that's what people are familiar with. So if someone, like you said, is putting their hands on you, okay, something's happening.
Right.
Somebody's talking to you crazy, okay, something's happening.
Right.
When someone's playing mind games with you, and half the time you think you're the reason, really, that everything's happening, really much harder to identify what's going on.
It is.
Because you're not even in the right state of mind.
You're not in the right state of mind. We did marriage counseling. Even counselors don't know. Narcissist, full therapist, they full psychologist, because they lie. They will go in, you're in counseling, and they are lying consistently. What upset me is that the therapist don't know. Maybe, that was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But no one ever once said to me, honey, you can't fix him. You can't fix what's happening because I'm pouring my heart out. He keeps disappearing. And then the conversation would continue to come back to my behavior.
And you just think you're trying because you're going to counseling, right? You're trying to.
I'm trying.
So we're married now.
Yes.
We've popped him upside the head.
We popped him at the gym club. Things are not, yeah, literally. And you know what he did too? He smirked. There's a narcissistic smirk. He was happy about that because he knew how much it hurt me. So let's get to the good stuff. We get through all of these things, and we renew our vows every 5 years. I know, right? I don't even know what to say about that. But
was that your idea or his idea?
I think it was mine. I really liked having the wedding. I would do it right now by myself.
I appreciate your honesty, and we're going to talk later because I need you to get me motivated to start planning.
Right, girl, I love it. We'll talk. Give me a wedding dress, and I really just want to dress up. Really, that's it. I bought 3 dresses because I couldn't decide. I was that girl. Didn't return any of them. So yeah, I was, excited to renew our vows every time you think it's going to get better. He would tell you that. For a narcissist, they think that's a clean slate. Like, because if it was so bad, then why do you keep staying with me? Why do you keep marrying me? It can't be that bad. And it can, in their mind, it gets worse. So the second time we renewed our vows was like a dream for me. We went to the French Alps. I love mountains. It was so nice. We're in the north of France and Switzerland and Italy. It was just, it was breathtaking. And I stood at the top of an Alp in Zermatt, Switzerland, and said, oh, God, I could die now. Hold that thought, right? Because words have power. We say things like that. That was a month before I ended up being set on fire. So we renew our vows. Things are as bad as they've ever been. It's November of 2018. He has, the kids have moved out of the house, right? That's really key element as well. It's the first time that we've been alone, all the time in the house. That's only been a few weeks, really, because we spent 2 of those weeks in France. But the last night we were in Switzerland, he disappeared. Started a fight, because they start fights, disappeared. Because we had been at a restaurant and the restaurateur had mentioned a rave. I've never been to a rave, and we were like 40-something years old. I'm like, I'm not going to a rave. So he wanted to go. I didn't. We had a good night. It was time to go back to the hotel. He starts a fight, starts really flirting with some young girls, starts a fight. They do that.
Can I ask you a question? Just to go back a little bit. What would you have done differently in communicating with your children at the time so you understood how they feel or what their perspective was of the situation?
I would have actually talked to them about it instead of pulling the trump card that I'm the mother.
Okay.
That's a mistake in this situation. I would listen to them, and then I would always make excuses. Because remember, I'm toxic too at this point. I'm making excuses for him. And I would have listened to them. I would have sat down, talked to them, and said, hey, you know what? We're going to have less, but things are going to be better. Are you in? Yeah, are you in? Or what do you think? What do we do? I remember at one point, my son, I think it was right before it happened, saying, we can all work to be, well, we can all work. And I can't remember what had happened, but some sort of disaster, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And he's like, we can all just, pitch in. It'll be okay. We could get an apartment. We would be fine. Because, I had given up my job. I was working for our company. Mm-hmm. We were self-employed. There was no, for me, in my mind, there was no out. But I would have definitely listened.
We can't be messing up a makeup girl.
Right. No, we sprayed it down.
Okay.
I know, we sprayed it down. I didn't expect that to come. Not a lot of things make me cry except thinking about my kids, and thinking about what they were going through. what they must have been going through to say, hey, you know, we can work, we can help you.
Well, I asked because, you know, I feel like maybe some people think, oh, this is something that happens to only just some young girl. And, you know, this is an experience you'll have. This could happen at any age, in any situation. And oftentimes there are kids involved. And so I want to speak to your true experience, which involved so much, and talk about how you and this person, you and your partner, actually aren't the only people dealing with the situation.
Right.
Everybody around you is living the situation with you.
Everybody, your toxicity is leaching to them. So there were things they were doing that were, you know, troublesome, kind of acting out. But why wouldn't they? I'm acting out. You know, everybody is suffering that abuse. If you're in the relationship and you have kids, they are suffering it. You'll do better to get out. And that is, you know, if I just know that, if I just trusted, listen to my son, listen to how hurt he had to be to say something like that. If I knew better, I would have prioritized that over, you know, when you're with the narcissist, they're like, it's like you're drowning, but you're still asking for water. You know, you want the person that broke you to heal you, the person to hurt you, to heal you. When they hurt you, when he walked away in Geneva, Switzerland, the only thing that could fix me is him coming back. I'm a wreck. Every time he would leave, I would be a wreck. I'm going to call 100 times. I'm going to text. I'm going to start making up things in my head like, oh, you know, he couldn't be hurting me again. He must have had an accident. Something happened. You know, it's really sad. And it would happen all the time, no matter how many times I would think, no. You know why? Because people who love you don't hurt you. And you don't hurt the people you love, not willingly anyway. You know, you are toxic. You're hurting your kids. But you don't have the intent, so you don't understand. You'll never be able to understand why they're hurting you that way. And as long as you can't understand it, you can't identify it. Right? We can't put a name on that which we do not understand. Oh gosh, I wish we had all of the social media presence then that we have now, because there's so many people that speak out about it. Yeah. You just have to listen and understand and find a way out. We'll talk about the safe way to do that, because I think that, you know, when he recognized that the kids weren't in the house anymore, I was not forgiving him. It had been a few weeks and he wants to be forgiven, and I was still...
Well, you're different now
angry
at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is what we're almost 15 years into.
We're 15 years.
The relationship. And normally the love bombing works, the healing works. You come back and now I'm not mad anymore. But this particular time, you're mad because you're almost over it. Right. And what happens when you actually begin to come to your senses?
Well, you know, I still didn't identify it as abuse. That's important. You know, I didn't understand that. But when I start to come to my senses, I start to doubt everything. I start looking back at the past 15 years. That they tell you ridiculous stories. I promise. I mean, just anybody who's been with one will be like, you know, why did I believe that?
Let me ask you a real practical question.
Yeah.
What did you do to look back? Because this remembering finally of all the things that happened to you seems very important to finally connect the dots. What did you do?
Very important. And actually, you know, that just hit me that it's happened twice. So interesting. So, and in that moment, it's hitting me. You know, you begin to ruminate on it. You know, and I'm looking back at phone records. I'm trying to give myself permission to believe what I know. I'm trying to give myself permission, you know, trying to just completely disprove the love bombing, completely disprove the lies. And you're looking for facts. So when people are, you know, you feel compelled to look through someone's phone and they're like, oh, you invaded my privacy. Well, yes, you did. But a lot of the times it's something that it's your intuition that is telling you, and then they are gaslighting you. So you become focused on it. So I became just really hyper-focused on trying to give myself permission to understand that this man had never been nice to me for 15 years. But a big thing was about to happen, and I was about to be love bombed again, and it worked. So even after, this night, on December 18th of 2018, at that point, we renewed our vows on November 15th. It's been exactly a month since we came back from our vacation, our vow renewal, and he's mad at me because I haven't forgiven him. He's furious, and if you look at my text, we're going back and forth about things. I'm doubting him. I'm like, are you on drugs? Because I don't do nothing, right? But I'm really questioning him. When you look at the text, I'm questioning, are there other women? And he's frustrated. He keeps, do you know what he said to me? We just renewed our vows. I thought things were going to be different now. It weren't. When you left me on the street. We renewed our vows on November 15th, and he left me on the street on November 17th. But then, when I'm still angry about it, I thought things were going to be different now.
Again, you are the problem.
It's on me. Yeah. I'm the problem. Why? Get over it. He would say, get over it. What's wrong with you? It's in the past. Common narcissistic thing. It's in the past, but it happened yesterday. I'm like, it's just a few days ago. It was yesterday or 3 weeks ago. So this argument had been going on, and I'd been calling him out on some other things, just lies.
Which is unusual for you, right?
Right.
You don't usually stay long. You weren't clocking it before.
Yeah, well, I would, I was truly inspecting everything throughout all the years, but I wouldn't believe the facts. And I would do it secretly. I would never tell him that. Now I'm telling him. I'm telling him. And I've established myself in real estate. I was new, but I got my first listing. I've got buyers. I've got my sign in a yard. It's getting done. I'm going to make my own money. And I think that was a threat looking back. So on this night, he comes home. I send him a text at 5:47 p.m. and it was something kind of snarky. I'm questioning him. And he never answered that text because I remember he came home and he said, let's go sit outside and talk about it. Because he always wanted to sit by the fire pit. I bought the fire pit because he loved sitting by it so much. It's crazy to think back. He had a real fascination with fire. So do sociopaths and psychopaths, which, I'm not here to diagnose him, but he's a sociopath.
But I will.
Just, I'm not a doctor, but, if it checks the box, it checks it. So he said, let's go sit outside. And, we're drinking wine, and we sit outside because I smoke. And we were talking, and I can't remember everything, the conversation, but I remember I was going to cook some steaks for dinner. I'd already set them out. And my daughter came by. She was picking up some clothes because she had moved. And she said, Mom, I can hear you from the street. And we lived up a big hill in Alpharetta. And I thought, in my memory, well, I think she heard me laughing, right? This is my memory after, right? That she probably heard me going off, or I don't know what was going on. But after she left, when I went to make those steaks, you could put them on the grill. You could add a grate to this fire pit and cook on it. When I reached out, I felt lighter fluid, and my arm
on you
went up on me. Oh yes, I felt it on my arm. I blamed this on myself, the conditioning that I had when I thought about it and told the story initially. I would say I reached out and got into the stream of lighter fluid. Why is he squirting the lighter fluid? We had the fire, going to cook on it, and I had seen him squirt lighter fluid before. And by the way, that's not what you should do with the fire. You should not be squirting lighter fluid on it, right? Just FYI, don't do that. And I ran. And a lot of this memory I suppressed for a long time because it's kind of what I do. But now I know I ran. And, I had some fire, it's not that bad. Had these long extensions, and I had never had a weave in my life. I had long hair, but this was the third time I've gotten it done because I was growing out the relaxer, right? important to know, and this long, long hair. And so I ran. And as he ran behind me, it's not that he was trying to catch me to put me out. He was squirting more lighter fluid. And when we got to the edge of the house, I got to the corner, like where the driveway is. And I remember looking back, and I knew he'd been squirting lighter fluid. And I looked back at him and said no. And he threw a Zippo lighter that we had just bought in Switzerland. And I know because it was red, it was the Swiss flag, red with the white cross. And he threw that, and I'm engulfed. I don't know how much lighter fluid he had squirted, but a lot, right? Maybe the whole thing. And then the fire just, all I feel is just woof. And it's all up around my head and neck. And I always flinch when I say it because I can feel it like coming up the neck. And it's so hot. You just can't imagine, burning yourself in the oven is not the same. This is so white hot. And so I dropped to my knees and I tried to roll. But stop, rock, and roll doesn't work when you have accelerant all over you. I mean, it might, but there's a God factor to it. A few people have been able to put themselves out, but mostly not. I needed water, but I didn't know that. I just rolled. I just realized I wasn't going out. It was me and that fire and my God. That's what it is in that moment. I wasn't thinking I need to be saved by him. I gave up, though. I now remember the moment that I'm like, okay, well, this is how I died. And I'm not thinking like, oh, what he did to me or whatever. I'm thinking, okay, this is how I died. I'm thinking about my kids, because my life does not flash before my eyes. What flashes before me is the thoughts of everything that I didn't do, that I wanted to do. And then I started to pray the Lord's Prayer, because I was raised in the church. I didn't know what else to say. Not a personal prayer, the Lord's Prayer. And I got about halfway through, and I said, God, is this really how I'm supposed to die? And I must have been speaking out loud. I still don't know, but I must have been speaking out loud, because I said, is this how I'm supposed to die? I'm 45 years old and I'm burning alive in my driveway. And this man who just set me on fire said, I got you, baby. I got you. That's not him speaking. That's God now. And especially now that I think back on it, he put me out with his jacket, like a leather jacket. He smothered the flames. These flames were so big that he burned himself up to his elbows. And he's 6'4". He's a big guy, right? Not a bad burns, but, maybe like still it reached. He put me out, and I ran back in the house to look in the mirror. We have that mirror at the back door that before you walk out. And I remember looking in the mirror, and I thought my face was a little red, which I must have looked like, you can imagine what I looked like in reality, because when I stood up, I had 3rd or 4th degree burns to the upper 35% of my body. I am badly burned. But I just see a little bit of redness. And I said, yeah, I probably need to go to the doctor in the morning.
The morning?
I'm I guess you're in shock. I don't know. But he said, I dialed 911. Now, what's really happened here is when I ran, I made it to the side of the house. The back was very, had a lot of privacy. But the side of the house, and with all my screaming and this big flame, the neighbors might have seen, or they might have heard. Now, nobody came to help. I know they heard. It was 8 o'clock. That text I sent at 5:47, to him that was arguing at 8:09 is when the 911 call went out. So it was only a couple of hours before my fate was sealed, and I know he did it, because what if they saw? How would he get away? When you talk about everything coming together as it needed to, if I'd been in the back, I wouldn't be here right now. There's no way. Even if he had a change of heart, there's no way he would let it go. He's going to get in trouble. So 911 came, and they took me, and I just kept asking if I was going to die, or saying that I was going to die. And That's all I really remember. The pain medicine hit as soon as I was up and walking around. When he put me out, I jumped up and walked around. Just adrenaline. But when I got in the ambulance and laid down, then it
Realize what
happened to you. I realized it, and
part of what happened to you.
Right. And now I've read the paramedics report where the guy says I asked her, pain level 1 to 10, and she said excruciating. And I don't remember much after that because they gave me pain meds. You're on fentanyl. They put you out with propofol, and they have to control it. They have to control your breathing, or your throat's going to swell and you'll suffocate. So it's urgent. And they did that. And I don't remember anything except the nightmares that I had while I was in a coma for 2 months. And the nightmares, I was looking for my kids, or running from pain. But when I woke up, let's get back to the narcissist. He's there because I was in North Georgia. You know where I was, in Johns Creek, and I'm Black and he's not. And they didn't even question him. The case was closed in 8 hours. They didn't look around. They note that there's several bottles of lighter fluid. They note that I had 3rd and 4th degree burns. I think they blame it on those extensions, which actually saved my life. Those extensions were human hair, but they actually put probably synthetic.
Yeah. So it
did you check? But these were human hair. It burns just like anything else. It doesn't burn unless with accelerant in it, it'll burn. It doesn't melt like a synthetic. You know what I'm saying? But it had burned me all the way up to the tracks and my cornrows, and now they had to shave my head. But I feel like it saved my life because my scalp didn't get burned. I wear wigs now, but I do have hair. I just like them. So I have hair. I just I like to be cute. Change my hair every day. I know it's a choice. People think I got long hair. So it wasn't investigated. That is what it is.
We're going to talk about that. I have to. When people are dealing with a person like this, sometimes it's like what's the best way to describe? Like, it could always be worse, right? Like, they're doing something. This happened, but there's still good times. Like,
right,
that, and how can we tell the people not to fool yourselves,
right?
Just because it's okay sometimes, but right now your situation, you said,
I'm done.
Gaslighting, this, that, and the third, but now you have gone from 5 to 10. Somebody tried to kill you. Your partner tried to kill you.
And that's a possibility that I think we're not recognizing with emotional abuse. This is not uncommon for a narcissist to have a fit of narcissistic rage. So if we continue to ignore the red flags, it's going to make it harder. The longer you stay in, the harder it is to get out. When you're trying to leave is when you are very likely to be harmed, even if you've never had a hand laid on you. This man was not hitting me. Now, I will say there's an exception. About a year before this happened, he disappeared one night. I got mad, and he came home and he rammed my car while I was sitting in it with his. I called the police. They arrested him for aggravated battery, 2 counts. Of course, by the next morning, I get a lawyer and get him out. And I kind of waved that off, like you're saying, it's my fault. I overreacted. Because he's like, I didn't mean to ram you. I have the security camera footage. Yes, he did. I still have it. And I'm watching the footage. It's like, yes, you did. To this day, I still have the footage. And I didn't show it to the police, though. I made it up. I felt bad. Now, look, I got him arrested. He's in trouble. Look what I did. So if you continue to ignore it and think about how much you love them and all the random good times that you get, the random times where they're not making you feel bad, because they want you to not feel good about yourself because they don't feel good. If you continue to make excuses, you can get to that 10. You can go from 5 to 10 very quickly.
There's this common thread that I get from you, which I very much appreciate. Because normally I'll be like, girl, this is his fault. You take so much accountability.
It's important.
For your actions.
It's important.
And then as I listen to you and I'm thinking, okay, what are the practical steps? What do people need to hear? you have to look at you. You're so focused on what the person is doing to you. You are not taking the time to understand what you're doing, what you're accepting, what you're allowing. You are very clearly, if you don't know you are very clearly explaining that you need to look at you. Who are you being right now?
And that's truly my message that I thought through today, coming to see you, is that, you know, if I knew better, I would always sit back and consider what's my part in it, in every situation of my life, not just this one. Because if you don't, you know, particularly with a narcissist, then you're not going to be able to get out. You won't realize, why am I accepting? Why am I not being treated right? Why do I accept that? It's not okay for you to accept that. And it always goes back to something in your childhood, always. But as an adult, it's your responsibility to heal that.
Exactly.
You know, if you have things from your childhood that are still affecting how you treat people today, it's a choice now, because you can heal it. You can take accountability. You have power when you're grown. You must take it. If I knew better, that's the main message throughout my life. I have accepted less than I deserve, period. And I did that because I didn't feel deserving when I was little. I get it. But if I don't heal that, then I continue to accept less than I deserve. And people like my ex dive on it. You know, I'm not, you know, it's not a rarity. This is happening. It feels like an epidemic. You know, I hear so many stories of it, right? It's like, I'm like, what happened to us? You know, because I'm like, what is gone with the, you know, I'm not going to defend us, Gen X. I'm telling you, it's something broken.
You said it though. There's less resources. It's less sharing. That's why I think sharing's so important. You guys, you didn't have access for you to be watching a video of somebody vulnerably, maybe in 2018, saying this thing is happening to me. Is this happening to you? Right. For you to go, oh my gosh, wait a minute. This is, yes.
And I didn't talk about what he was doing. I had friends, but I never told them, hey, you know what? He turns off his phone and disappears once or twice a week. Hey, you know what? He disappeared for 2 days one time. 2 days.
Why didn't you tell them?
Because I was raised that your marriage is your business. You keep it private. You don't talk about your marriage with everybody, which is the worst advice ever. Please talk to someone. You know, you don't have to go gossiping. You don't have to tell everybody. But you have a friend you trust, tell them. Because if I had told any of my friends, they'd have been like, what do you mean he disappears? That's not normal.
And allow that questioning that you may not be able to do with yourself. But now somebody's making you realize, oh, I was acting crazy up there on Roswell. That's a little crazy. Like, what do you do? They're like, girl, you don't. I've known you for 10 years. You don't put your hands on people.
Right. You don't go and sling it. Right. Let that be held. And then also you're embarrassed. It's like you're embarrassed because you know you're accepting less than you deserve. So I'm going to tell somebody, like, how dumb does it sound that to say my husband disappeared for 2 days?
Well, that thing that you're avoiding, the thing that you fear, you will experience.
Yes.
And at a great, now you're in the hospital coming out of a 2-month coma,
and he's there. He's kissing my face as I'm waking up, saying, "Oh, I love you, baby. You made it. You made it. The accident was so bad. You made it, baby. You're so strong. I love you." That's a love bomb. I didn't know what that was then. But I'm literally just coming out of like a fentanyl, paralytic, morphine fog. And he's there, and I'm like, okay. And then my daughter hugged me, and she always called me Mom. She said, Mom, you're the strongest person I know. Remember that. And my son being there. And then it takes a long time to wake up, but he was consistently there. And he told me, oh, the accident was so bad, and I'm so sorry. And I realized how bad I've been to you over the years, now that I almost lost you. And I'm going to be better. I'm going to take care of you forever. I'm going to be better. And do you know what? I was so broken, and I'd been so hurt and abused that sounded like a good proposition to me. I had no face. I literally I didn't look as I do now. I had no face. I'm laying there in a bed. I can't move. I can't walk. I can't talk. I've got a trach in. I've still got to try to survive. There's still a chance of not making it. You know, I'm septic. And I'm like, okay, if he'll just stop, running away and being a problem, then my life will be better. That's how bad it is. That felt good to me, like a relief. And so, then I'm in that point in my head. I don't have the memory of him running after me because that's what I do. That's another thing I've done consistently throughout my life is just suppress a memory, just put it away. Memory or not memory, why should I believe this man?
That's what, now, that was my question. Now, somebody's selling you a narrative so hard.
Why should I believe him? I know who he is. He's shown me who he is. My Angela said, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. But repeatedly with the narcissist, you don't believe them. It's another thing. If you know that, do it. We can't just say it and then not act on it. When someone does that, no, he was out having a bad day for 15 years. People have moments, they make mistakes. But why would I believe them? Well, I think there's a number of reasons. I'm in pain. I'm in a fog. I don't know what's going on for about maybe a year and a half after that. I don't really know. I'm in just so much pain, a wheelchair and, feeding tubes, even when I got home. And there was just a lot of moving parts. And I didn't want to think about it. I didn't want to think about it. I know other people questioned it. When I came out, after a couple of years, I started healing and started doing makeup, and I made a video just to tell my friends where I'd been for the past 2 years because I didn't want people to see me. It was horrible. And so I got the nerve I had a caretaker, Miriam, and she was there, took care of me every day. And one day she said, Miss Tonya, you need to look in the mirror. Things have changed. And, isn't that something? You need to look in the mirror. Things have changed. I carry that with me when we talk about doing mirror work and really, healing. And when I did look in the mirror, I'd already started playing with wigs because they had shaped my head a couple of times. And I'd never worn a wig, so I started doing that. And I'd always done makeup. And, I'd thrown my makeup away when I first got home. So it's like, I don't need this anymore. I was just really upset. I don't think I was in a space to think about what he had done. I think I could only think about where I was physically and spiritually in the world, which
maybe was the best shift. Because you shifted your focus off of him.
It's the way it needed to happen. I don't think I would have survived if I had woke up and they said he was arrested and, he was still like my oxygen. He's a narcissist. He's, you feel like you need them. So if I had woke up and I still needed to be fighting for my life, I don't know. I don't know that I would have made it. So everything happens. You've got to have faith that things are as they need to be. And you just need to figure out how to work with that. Looking back, I wish he had been arrested. I wish I had known. But that's not what happened.
Yeah.
And I recovered. I made this video to tell my friends. I didn't even know I'd make a video. It was a mess. I bought I saw ring lights on TV, so I ordered up a ring light. And then I didn't know what it was. I made this video. The only way I knew how to make it was, I think, to put it on YouTube. And then I shared the YouTube link, something crazy. I did not know that other people could see it other than just like my Facebook friends. But people started to message me and they're like, oh, I've been through this and you have such good self-esteem. And that self-esteem only came after these burns.
Mm.
It started to set me free. Maybe it is because I started to think about myself. That's one thing we need to do. I wish that was something I wish I had done a whole life. And so when I started to prioritize how am I going to heal, how am I going to live the rest of my life? Because, I'm 47 years old at the time, and I can't sit on the couch for the rest of my life. He's telling me, I'll take care of you. It's okay. Well, look where we are now. Really?
You'll did a great job taking care of you.
He was stealing my pain medicine. Mm. So, and I didn't even know at first because I had a feeding tube. Mm. And so they had to crush up the pills and put it in a syringe with water and just push it into my stomach. It's not that I went and took the pills, but I had tons of roxycodone, they call it. And he was probably taking more than half. I saw it one day. I started to suspect it after some things happened. And I saw him. I couldn't get out of bed by myself. He gets up in the morning, makes my medicine, puts it in my tube. I'm still laying in bed waiting to be moved. Goes to take a shower, comes back, and as he walks by the stand into the closet, picks up 2 pink pills and pops them. And I know that's my oxycodone. Turns out he's on meth.
The whole time, or this?
Yeah, for about a decade he had been on meth, and I always thought his problem was alcohol. Always blamed everything on, well, he's an alcoholic and that's why he disappears. It's not that he wants to go be with other women. It's that he just, I don't want him to drink here and he's going to drink. And that's why he disappears and he gets too drunk. So I knew there was a behavioral thing. I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen anybody on drugs other than maybe my mother, but I never really lived with her. I knew how she behaved, but I would have never put 2 and 2 together. I mean, you're on meth and heroin.
As we go through this, I hear you speak about the 15 years of you, what is he doing? Who is he? All this focus on him.
Yeah.
And then only until you focus on yourself,
right,
did all of his flaws come to the light.
Right.
Now all of this information and everything is flowing to you.
Right.
Because you were taking care of you.
Right.
Because 10 years, and you were there the whole time.
I was there the whole time. Looking back on it right now, it's a lot to realize how much changed when I was forced to focus on myself. Because if I wasn't thinking about me after those burns, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. It takes a lot. Even after you get out of the hospital, you can still not make it from burns like this because of infection coming for you. So yeah, it was so liberating to think about me, to make that video and to have people tell me, oh, wow, you do your makeup and I've been through this and I don't, I want to wear makeup. I want to feel pretty. I want to do these things. Oh. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I know what I can do with the rest of my life. And I started a nonprofit, and then I realized I don't know how to run one. Shit, I know how to run a business. I just thought, it's just like running a business. No, it's not. No,
we'll have you back on to talk about that.
I still have it. I still have it out there, but then I started a nonprofit, and I thought, well, I'll do makeup, and if I raise money, then I'll donate it to other survivors or something. I still didn't put a value on maybe I could earn money for me. Didn't have that. So then I started Burn Beauty 2018, and it's grown. If that hadn't happened, I wouldn't be able to take care of myself right now. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that beautiful?
It's not crazy at all. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. So
yeah, you take more accountability than any woman I've ever met, by the way.
Yeah.
So
we have to
respect. But I want to ask you, how do you also give yourself grace?
Absolutely. That was a big thing I had to learn. I got a life coach, and she's a pastor, and she would tell me to give myself grace. And I remind people now, I had things that I needed to heal. And that's what allowed me to stay. But that has nothing to do with the bad things that he was willing to do to me. And that's why I say I won't live in his shame for that. The things he did to me, when people will say to us, well, why did you stay? And it happens all the time. We say to women that have been hit, well, why did you stay? Because it's really hard to leave. You don't understand it. And I just, I tell people now, if you don't understand, then it's because you've never been there, and you should just thank God. So thank God for it. Thank God for being able to see what they've done to you. Don't feel bad for you have your part in it, but you can't assign all the blame to you. It's his fault. This guy hurt me, or this person, whoever you're dealing with, it's their fault. They're the evil one. You're definitely toxic along with them for allowing it. But your toxicity is different than theirs. Theirs comes from a place of pure evil. Give yourself grace, because you can't if you absorb all of the blame, then you're not going to leave either, because that's essentially what I was doing in the beginning, where I'm trying to fix myself. I took every pill there was. It's like, I need an antidepressant, I need something to sleep, I need whatever. I would go to these doctors and there's no pill you can take to fix it. I'm perfectly fine now. Look at that. Oh wait, I didn't need a pill. I needed to get rid of him. So give yourself the grace to, if you don't, you can't heal. Let it be. Just accept it. Take your part in it. Understand it. And then also understand that that person hurt you. You have no part in that, because there's no reason. You don't have a part in someone trying to kill you.
And that they didn't love you, because someone that loves you wouldn't.
They did not love you. And that was so huge after 15 years. And by the time I was there with him at home thinking, it was an accident, but I didn't think that. Not in reality. I just didn't know what to do. Now looking back, because he's still in my pain medicine. And now he's starting to, I need 24/7 care. And he tells me, I want to go away for the weekend with so-and-so. And I'm like, well, you can't, I'm not supposed to stay home alone. I can't take care. He's like, well, I haven't been able to do anything for 2 years. That still sits with me. Like, it was still about, about him. And it took so long. And when I did start to give even more grace, is when I was able to work it out. It's not all my fault. And, I'm not, people are going to talk bad about me because people have been telling me he did it on purpose the whole time. Particularly, oh yes, my Black people. I heard you. I heard you.
Tell them right there.
I heard you, my Black people. I heard you. If y'all were not nice. Now I get you. I feel you now. Now I can see just how crazy it was and how crazy it looked. And I'm like, oh no, it was an accident. I remember what happened. I remember reaching out and getting in the stream of lighter fluid, but I've erased everything else.
Yeah.
And, and to be even drawing the breath to say that after you realize he's still in your pain meds, it's clear this person is not good. I can't believe I survived. I can't believe he didn't. Being that he wasn't arrested, that he didn't finish me off in like the burn unit ICU. Those are little tiny rooms. I'm surprised he didn't do something, or, like, what if she wakes up and remembers that he had to be really on pins and needles, but he did.
Maybe very cocky enough to think that you would believe his story.
Well, yeah, why wouldn't I? I always do. Right? I always do.
You have talked about patterns a lot here, even the patterns of looking at different red flags and all of these things. And what I hear is, even up until this moment, you said he likes seeing you in pain.
Yes.
So he's inflicted pain, and then you're healing, and he's still in your pain medicine because he likes seeing you in pain.
Right.
And so when you really pay attention to the patterns, they will be themselves over and over and over again. That's what I get.
They can't be anything different. And that's, I completely absorbed Maya Angelou at that point, and how crucial it is to take people for, who they are. This person he would laugh at my pain. These are people that if you're crying in bed, they'll go to sleep. It puts them to sleep, the sound of your tears. Think about that, and it's really common. This is not, I wish it was a crazy, unusual circumstance that I'm talking about, but it's kind of textbook. Maybe people don't end up getting set on fire, even though quite a few of us have, even in the U.S., but you're living it. And if you're living it, you have to believe what you're saying. You have to believe.
Give yourself permission to believe.
Give yourself permission, because that's what I was always looking for. was permission to believe what I knew. That's what I looked for the whole time, right? I'm going through phone records. I'm hunting you down. I need permission for to know what I know. Now, all your power has been taken from you. You've given all your power. It kind of a, tug of war by not standing up for yourself. And now here you are.
You told us that you were going to talk to us about how to safely leave.
Yes.
What did that look like for you? And what is the best way to do it?
You need to leave quietly. I didn't know what to do. Once I remembered, keep in mind, I'm still living in the house with him. But at that point, I had found a whole bunch of drugs. I was done again, and I started sleeping on the couch downstairs. Okay. I did not let him know that I remembered, because I called an attorney and I called the Partnership Against Domestic Violence after some friends encouraged me. I told several people. Fortunately, I was in therapy when it happened, and I asked my therapist, is it possible that I'm really remembering this? I needed permission, right? And she's like, absolutely. I think she already knew what was true. So they told me, you can't let him know. He will finish you, right? He will harm you. You must, get some money together. The attorney said, get some money together and get out of there. Don't tell him where you've gone, because they won't even give you a protective order. I can't get a protective order.
Well, the police have failed you in this entire situation.
They have failed. And then, the Wands, he hasn't done anything. What has he done to you recently? That's what you need for a protective order. I did end up with one, but it's after he got me arrested. We'll talk about that in a minute. It was dismissed. I know people go nuts.
And it's not you coming out with the rest of the facts.
But that was in 2024 after I started trying to leave, right? And I was doing TikTok. That's what really jogged my memory, which is kind of crazy. I'm telling my story every day on TikTok, and the pictures in my mind are not matching my words. That's when I talked to my therapist. She said, you've got to get out. So please, you can't talk to them about it. And fortunately for me, I was done, because I'd found these drugs and I didn't have any desire to try to fix the relationship. But you're going to get that desire to try to fix it if nothing huge has happened yet. And you're going to try to go talk to them about leaving, and you cannot. We see so many people get harmed or ended while they're trying to go. So please tell a friend, like I did, contact a domestic violence organization, because even they don't have to have been hitting you. They understand emotional abuse. They understand narcissistic abuse. They understand how dangerous it is. They have a plan. They put together a safety plan for you. Now, where do you get the money? Because you've probably either given them all your money, or now you're dependent on them a lot of the time, if it's been that many years. And that's where I got stuck. I was there for like a year trying to get out, and it was horrible. I was screaming obscenities at this man. Again, look at who you are. I could not. I had so much anger just bottled up, and he loved it. I was not as afraid as I should have been. You cannot stay as long as I did. Yeah. I was afraid because I'm technically disabled, right? Like it would be very hard for me to work a 40-hour week job. And all I have is, social media? That was it. And it was scary. And I refused to go try to live with my daughter, or to even ask. If I knew better, I would ask, right? I would put that pride away. And it's partial pride and partial still not valuing yourself. I was like, well, she's just living her best life. She just got her degree. She got money. She got her apartment. Why am I going to go there and try to sleep on her couch? Who knows? I wouldn't do it.
Because you're her mom.
No, she would have gladly had me there, right? But I still didn't have, I valued her, and I probably always will value my kids' happiness over mine, but in this situation, you need to do whatever you need to do to get out. And when you leave while they're at work. You leave while they're out of town. I don't care. You pack your stuff up, especially if you have kids, and you go somewhere safe. You do not talk to them. You block them. There's no way to win an argument with a narcissist. Mm-hmm. So no contact is the only power you have. The only power is to not speak and to have them not know where you are. I couldn't speak out about this until I got to the other side of the country. And still, it's kind of like, it's a little cringy, you don't know what he's going to do. He's still walking free. But try to, get yourself somewhere safe. And if they come for you, if they find you, get the restraining order, even though they're only paper. But at least try to create some accountability for the local law enforcement, because they don't just fail me, they fail a lot. They often empathize with the accuser because, like, oh yeah, my wife gets crazy too. We've heard that on a very famous case lately where someone, oh yeah, my wife gets that too. They truly empathize. And you have to have someone you trust. It's got to be a friend, your mother, I don't care who it is. Also, you may be alienated from those people by the time you're ready to go, because the narcissist likes to isolate you and they create problems. I promise you that if you call them and tell them what's happening, they are still there for you. They have only walked away or shut down because they're afraid of what's going to happen to you and you're not listening. There's nothing they can do to change it. But if you come back to them, they will do it. And that's really all you have to do to get out. But the number one thing is not telling them you're going. Do not think that because they haven't laid a hand on you, that they won't. Do not think they would never hurt the kids. This is one of the things that there is no pill for. And it really is like psychopathy and sociopathy, or however you say it. I'm from the country. I don't say sociopath. I'm from North Carolina.
We know what you do.
You know what I mean. Those two things and narcissism, there's no way to fix it. There's no pill for it. Mm-hmm. There's very few self-aware narcissists. They are a lost cause. Believe it. If I knew better, I would have accepted that he would never change. He can't. They say, old elders tell you the leopard doesn't change his spots, and it's for real.
And you can't change him.
You can't change them. And it's not you that needs to change. You have to believe it. Good. Believing what's happening. And we see it a lot now, just in the world, where you're being told to believe something that your eyes did not see. And it's really, really crucial, really, really crucial that you believe it and that you follow whatever pride you need to get somebody to help you hide, get away. They're not going to stop calling you. They're not going to stop apologizing. Mine was still, I promise you, still would think we could get back together. Still, sending the Zelle payments, or I had to pay alimony because after he got me arrested, it didn't work out for him. Ooh, I was hot. I was hot. I kept calling him names. If he spoke to me, I would call him names. He's like, no, at this point, I was calling him everything except the child of God. I had a really ugly word that I'm not going to say right now because it's not ladylike. It was an ugly word, but yeah, so I pushed him out of the way because he was in my space and he was recording it. Know that if a narcissist is literally called provoke and record, and then he goes and edits the video. He's not big on editing, but he had to clip out some of what I said. And 2 hours later, here come the police. They didn't believe him. The guy had called his supervisor because they were like, what in the world? Because it's not even like he's calling for help.
Yeah.
Right? It's 2 hours later, so they kind of knew what was happening. And they helped me out. I was in Alpharetta, and they're like, well, we'll take you straight to Fulton County instead of taking you to Alpharetta, so you don't have to wait to get transferred. Fulton County, Georgia jail. I was with it.
Likes to see you in pain.
He loved it, but I think he was terrified when I got. he was almost shaken when I got back, but the end result, I was there like a night, and I wouldn't have been there very long at all if it wasn't Fulton County, and I got the judge, no bond, let me go, and the solicitor did not believe him and dropped the case, dismissed the case, but it resulted in. He went over the top and tried to get a restraining order against me, which was actually good because it opened up the door for me to answer and counterclaim. And the Atlanta Volunteer Lawyers Foundation helped me do that. They stepped up because I didn't have the money for an attorney, and they stepped up and got it. And actually got me temporary alimony, and that alimony helped me so I could get out. But ultimately, after he left, then he stopped paying the bills in the house in Alpharetta, and it's expensive there, right? So I was still struggling for money, trying to figure out how to get away, and he wanted me to stay there. He knew where I was, right? He knows that I was terrified. I thought he was going to come bring the house down when I go to sleep. I was just so scared. Mm-hmm. And then a nonprofit called Face Forward International contacted me a few months after it all started and said, you can come to LA and have surgery.
Wow.
And I did not hesitate. It was an immediate yes. They're like, but you're going to have to stay probably 4 to 6 months. I was like, I'm in. No problem. I'm in, and we have a house you can stay in, and we'll give you free surgery in Beverly Hills. And I was like, it was just an immediate yes. I got a pod, and I packed up 1,600 square feet of stuff as fast as I could. I had them deliver it, and I told the people what was going on. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't want it sitting on the street. I'm trying to get away. And I was still kind of scared that it had to sit there for a night, but they delivered it. Movers came, put stuff. 1,600 square feet was nothing. I mean, it was like a 5,000 square foot house, right? So I didn't pack up much, but I packed up things that were important. I still don't have those things. They're still in storage. But I let it all go. That's what was important. I had some things I was clinging to still, physical things that they're okay. I'll get them back. Memories, things from the kid, like that. Just put it somewhere and go. And it was so freeing. And I've spent the past year really thinking about my part in it so that it never happens again. It's important because I've had the same pattern throughout the whole life. Mm-hmm. We have to realize that, the pattern has been there.
I hope that we're talking to a bunch of young people who haven't even got to this point, and they will take this and never find themselves in this situation. That's my hope. However, I know that we are talking to some women who have been through similar things to you.
Yeah.
You have reached a lot of women who have connected with you in that way.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you, lastly, what is life after this?
So good. So good. Once you, I've never been happier. And I think it's because I know who I really am. Mm-hmm. There's so much peace, and it really dysregulates your nervous system, all that abuse, and you're constantly in fight or flight. So you can't think straight. Your body doesn't feel good. You don't know, when the shoe's going to drop. You don't know how things are. And then once you get away and you start to do the work, there's nothing that can shake you. Everything is growth. Everything is you and how you can build on the knowledge. And for me, I believe in turning pain into purpose. So what I'm doing here makes sense to me, because it's hard to understand why this would happen to me. It's like, I was so good for 15 years. I was so good to this person. Why would he do this? You try to reason through that. Once I let that go, there's so much you can do. You've probably been doubting yourself all those years and thinking that you can't live without someone else's help, because I believed that very much. The reality is you're the one already that's doing everything. you're just being told that you're not. So when you get away, and I got my first, I rented my first house by myself.
Congratulations.
At the age of 52, right? Yeah, ever, because I went from my grandparents' house to my first husband's house to renting a house, but renting an apartment, but I had kids. Now it's so good. I feel like I can really live a good life, a happy life. And I realized that I wasn't living at all for a lot of years, and I have goals to help people. I want to leave a legacy. And you can think about those things if you don't have someone who's dragging you down. It is abuse. You're not going to be successful while you have them around. You can't. And you're not going to know who you really are. You're not going to be able to love yourself until you get rid of all that hate, and until you heal what's in you that allowed you to be hurt for so long. It's good.
I can tell you're so happy. I don't even know who Angry Roswell Road Tonya was. Oh, because it's nothing but good energy here. Yeah, I appreciate you so much. I think this now is one of my favorite episodes. Like I said, you embody everything that this podcast is about. You are the perfect guest. You have lived a life. You've lived a life. I'll say that.
Yeah.
You've been through a lot. And finding your purpose at the end of it is the most beautiful, beautiful gift to the world. It's beautiful for you, but it's beautiful for so many other people. And I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
I think you're badass. Like, I think that you are just the coolest woman I've ever met in my life now. You have stories to tell, and I'm going to have you come back and tell us more of them because you held back.
I have got stories.
But I just appreciate your vulnerability and how much you share, and that is empowering in itself, just the fact that you're willing to share. And so I thank you so much. I want one of your lipsticks.
Yes. I do have the red lipstick by Metaluso and Burn Beauty 2018. Don't look it up. Get one because it's gorgeous.
We will drop a link. We support Black businesses around here.
Yes.
So we will buy the lipstick.
Thank you.
But thank you. Thank you for bringing your beautiful energy here and sharing with all of us. I really appreciate it.
I am so honored, and thank you for doing this podcast. It's important. You have a big reach, and we have to use our platforms to reach others in a good way.
Will do. This is the start right here.
It is.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.